Flower is the female reproductive part of a plant. And the arrangement of flowers, isn't it? The arrangement of flowers. Here you can see the arrangement of flowers, and the arrangement of flower on a floral axis, we call it as inflorescence. So flower is the female reproductive part of a plant, and the arrangement of flower is known as inflorescence. And you can see different whorls in a flower. You can see 4 whorls in a flower, and the whorls are attached to the thalamus. Here you can see a swollen portion, isn't it? A swollen portion you can see here, that is thalamus. The whorls of a flower are attached to the thalamus. See here you can see different whorls of a flower. So the different whorls of a flower includes the different whorls of the flower includes the androecium, gynoecium, calyx, and one more whorl, that is corolla. We know that gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower, and androecium is the male reproductive part. And here you can see the calyx. Calyx includes sepals. Then you can see here the corolla. Corolla includes the petals. And we know the functions of different whorls, isn't it? Corolla and calyx. The corolla and calyx we call it as non-essential whorls, and the gynoecium and androecium we used to call it as essential whorls of a flower. And here you can see the different parts. These are the different parts of the flower, different parts of a flower, and each part has different roles to perform. The calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium, all the parts has different roles to perform, isn't it? The essential whorls are there and non-essential whorls are there. And the essential whorl, that is gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of a flower, and you can see the gynoecium. The gynoecium consists of the pistil. In some flowers you can see only one pistil, and in some flowers you can see many pistils. In the same way, in androecium, it is the male reproductive part of a flower, and you can see in some flowers you can see a whorl of stamens, isn't it? Different stamens you can see. Many stamens are there. In some plants you can see a whorl of stamens, and in some flowers you can see only very few stamens, isn't it? So these are the different parts of a flower, and you can see androecium is the male part. It consists of the stamens. See here you can see the stamens in different size, in colors, isn't it? In different size and colors you can see the stamen, but even though the stamens are seen in different size and color, its parts is same, isn't it? And the stamen has 2 parts, that is filament, and here it is the anther. You can see the filament is attached to the thalamus. In some cases the filament is attached to the thalamus, or in some cases it is attached to the petals. So here you can see the structure of an anther. An anther has 2 lobes, isn't it? An anther has 2 lobes, so we call it as bilobed. An anther has 2 lobes, and we call it as bilobed, and each lobe has 2 theca in it, and we call it as dithecous. See here you can see the anther has 4-sided structure, isn't it? So we call it as tetragonal. See here you can see a young anther structure, the section of an young anther you can see here. See here, and the young anther you can see microsporangium, isn't it? This is theca. And the section you can see 4 thecas, isn't it? 4 cavities you can see, and the thecas we call it as microsporangium. The thecas which are seen in the anthers we call it as microsporangium. 1 theca we used to call it as microsporangium. The 4 thecas together we can call it as microsporangia, isn't it? And you can see the different parts of the anther also. Anther has different layers in it. See the different cells of anther. You can see different layers of anther. The different layers of anther includes the epidermis, then comes the endothecium, middle layer, and the tapetum. These are the different layers seen in the anther. In young anther you can see the different layers, isn't it? It is not ruptured. This is young anther, and inside the theca you can see sporogenous tissue also. This is an enlarged view. See here you can see the outer layer of the anther, that is epidermis. See here you can see a single layer of cells, isn't it? Only a single layer of cells. So the epidermis consists of only a single layer of cells. And then comes the next layer. The epidermis is followed by the endothelium. Then the middle layer, tapetum and microsporangium. See here we can see different layers. Epidermis, it includes a single layer of cell, and endothelium consists of also a single layer of cell. And see middle layers you can see 2 or 3 layers of cells there, isn't it? Then we can see tapetum. Tapetum. First 3 layers, epidermis, endothelium and middle layers. So these 3 layers, its function, they helps in protection. They gives protection, and also it helps in the dehiscence of anther, and also it helps to release the pollen grains. So the first 3 layers, epidermis, endothelium and middle layers, its function is it helps in protection, and also it helps in the dehiscence of anther, and also helps to release the pollen grains. And then you can see the tapetum, and what is its function? It provides nourishment to the pollen grains. So the function of tapetum is it used to provide nourishment to the pollen grains. Beneath the tapetum you can see the sporogenous tissues, isn't it? See, let's discuss the function of tapetum also. Here you can see the different layers. The first 3 layers we said, epidermis, endothelium, middle layer, they helps in the dehiscence of anther, isn't it? Here you can see the anther, the dehiscence of pollen grains takes place, isn't it? Dehiscence of anther takes place. See, this is the tapetum, tapetal cell. Here you can see the tapetal cell. It is binucleate, isn't it? The microscopic view of tapetal cells, you can see it is binucleated. So why tapetal cells are binucleated? Yes, because it undergo mitosis. Only it undergo mitosis, and it is not followed by cytokinesis. That's why the tapetal cell is binucleated. And what is the function of tapetal cells? They provides nourishment to the pollen grains. It helps in the development of pollen grains, and we know that the tapetum has dense cytoplasm, and it has it contains more than one nucleus. And tapetum is the innermost cell, isn't it? Innermost layer. It gives nourishment. And then tapetum, and it is followed by the innermost part you can see sporogenous tissues also, isn't it? Here you can see innermost part, you can see sporogenous tissues. The sporogenous tissue on maturation, it changes to form microspore mother cell, isn't it? The sporogenous tissue on maturation, it forms the microspore mother cell. And the sporogenous tissue the sporogenous tissue undergoes division and differentiation, and it forms the microspore mother cell. And here you can see the microspore mother cell. The microspore mother cell has undergone meiosis. Here you can see it undergoes meiosis, and it produces 4 cells, isn't it? It has undergone meiosis 2 times, isn't it? Microspore mother cell undergo meiosis, and it produces a cluster of cells, isn't it? Here you can see a cluster of cells. We call it as microspores, and the microspores are arranged in a cluster of 4 cells. See here you can see they are arranged like this in a cluster of 4 cells, and that we call it as microspore tetrad. Okay. So the microspore mother cell undergo meiosis, and it produces 4 cells, and the process of formation of microspore from microspore mother cell, we used to call it as microsporogenesis. And after that the anthers mature and it dehydrate. And what happens to the microspore tetrad? The microspore tetrad used to dissociate, and that's how the pollen grains are formed through the see here you can see through that portion as the anther matures, the matures and dehydrate, the microspore tetrad dissociate and forms the pollen grains.